Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts, Nat and Kristen, as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
So it's been, how long since we last did a bit of a state of the nation?
At least 6 months.
Time flies. We thought we'd take this opportunity. We've actually spent the last, 2 weeks in reflection mode going, we have had a lot of traction. We've had a lot of stuff happen. And what that means is some of the stuff that used to work for us as a business is maybe no longer the best use of our time, or we need to evolve it or scrap it or whatever. Effectively, we're all the CEOs of our own careers. And as co-CEOs of a business, there's a lot of crossover. So we thought we'd use this as an opportunity to share with you what we're thinking about with Powrsuit, what we're reflecting on, what's going to change, what's going to stay the same, where we've got to.
And we've got 10 questions to go through. The first question is, what's the weirdest, strangest, mildly surprising thing that someone has said about Powrsuit or that's happened recently? And I'll just start with a really quick comment the other day. I was on with someone who wants to join Powrsuit. She wants to bring it into organization. She sent it to her people person, and immediately the people person went, pink. That's so triggering. And Powrsuit, the name is so triggering. And it was so interesting. Connotations of pink and power to be this cheesy women's thing. And we've always talked about we don't want to be the fluffy pink women's thing. But then we also are like standing strong in our pink and our power. So that was interesting and surprising.
You're talking to someone who's literally wearing a pink cardigan at the moment. It's such an interesting one, because I feel like pink and power, empower. I really don't like the word empower because it indicates that we don't have the power already, but it's actually okay to like the color pink. I think more of us should like the color pink. It doesn't actually, it's not like a sissy color. It's it almost shows an internal bias there too, or maybe it has just been used so much for silly things. The thing that really surprises me is how big people think we are. And we accosted a couple of fabulous people at some drinks on Friday night and invited ourselves along to a charity golf tournament, and then just saw the entry fee, which is something like several $1,000s. We also get asked quite regularly to sponsor events and we get all of these requests for things. And I'm like, we've done a really good job of looking a lot bigger than we are. And that wasn't intentional, but we're often in a position to go, you realize we're only a year in and we are bootstrapping, and no, we cannot fund your event.
I know. And also to enter awards and stuff, it's like, not to mention the distraction, but also like, really, are we actually going to win an award? I mean, one day we'll win all
That's
the awards.
That's the first question. You asked that. You're like, what's our chances of winning?
I know. She asked us to apply, and I said, realistically, how, and if our chances are 100%, she's like, psst, do it, then we'll do it. But anyway. Okay.
That's Kristen's competitive instinct kicking in. I wouldn't have thought to ask that question.
Yeah, well, I'm looking up and down the start line and I'm like, who's going to beat me here? Will I beat everyone here now? Anyway, okay. Our second one is that we have got some massive champions and kind of unpaid sales team of Powrsuit, people that are constantly selling us. So I'm curious, Nat, does a story come to mind where you've overheard or been told different ways that Powrsuit are selling us into strangers, into their organizations? We'll start with you. What comes to mind?
Yes, all the time. And it is my favorite thing. I went to an event. We go to a lot of events. I went to an event on Monday night, and a Powersuiter came up and was like, oh my goodness, you're here. Great, great, great. And then we were in a circle and I was talking to someone else, and I just heard this Powersuiter delivering the most epic Powersuit pitch and just really nailing what we are, the value we offer, and encouraging this person to sign up. And that's not unusual. Firstly, every single time is just the most joyous thing. But secondly, I'm shocked by how often it happens. And that is how we've grown. And I know this is quickfire, but my only caveat to that, or tip for that, is we often get asked, if someone loves our newsletter or a podcast or something, they will often email us to ask if it's okay to share. I would love to give everyone permission right now. If you like anything we do, if there is any content you come across, anything, any event, any people you think we should meet, do not ask permission. connect us. That is the most powerful thing you can do to help us grow. And I understand why that people are worried about giving away our IP or sharing something that might damage us. The more the merrier. It is literally the way we grow. So please, if you are listening to this now and think someone would be interested, if you've read our newsletter, share, 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 introduce
Yeah.
us, connect us. You do not have to ever apologize for doing that. Just do more of it.
Yes. And my favorite story is an organization, and it was a senior engineer who just loved Powrsuit. Interestingly, she was on a leadership course already. And so, for some reason, this altruistic, above and beyond person was like, everyone needs Powrsuit. I am already in something right now. She is a senior leader, but I want other people in my women in my organization to be on Powrsuit. So she had a male boss who led tons of engineers. And she just went to him. She developed a 5-page pitch. She threw it onto a document, sent it to me, and said, I'm going to send this to my boss because I think we should be sponsoring Powrsuit memberships, get a bunch of women on. And I added a few comments and tweaked a few things and got the positioning right, sent it to him. We got Powrsuiters on. So she basically was this. It wasn't part of her job. She just thought, I want to get us in. She went above and beyond, did that, pitched us. Honestly, it was a couple week process. She made it happen. And then 6 months later, she won an award at the company events because organizations love when people take initiative. And she won this
Yeah.
trophy. And I was just, that is what happens when you take a bit of self leadership and you just do it. You just ask for what you need and what other people need. So I love that
Well,
story.
especially when we deliver an impact. And I've noticed that even with our latest newsletter and podcast on managing your manager, we've suddenly had a bunch of managers going, I get it now. You can help me. You can help me by helping my people. And so I love that kind of light bulb moment and then people advocating for getting what they need internally.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are Powersuiters saying about us and how is the network going?
Well, I am going to cheat and read a couple comments off LinkedIn because we actually asked
This
on
is what
LinkedIn.
happens when Kristen gets prep time. She can come in with like great stuff while I'm like,
No, I'm just cheating. I'm just cheating. We did a post on LinkedIn the other day and asked our Powersuiters, why have you chosen Powersuit? And one is, I'm drawn to Powersuit for the very essence of expansive thinking. Everything that's provided to members, and consequently, a collection of top rated people drawn to the same thing. So it's this curiosity and expansive thinking, and then they're drawn to it, and they know that they're going to be surrounded by other people who are curious and want to invest in themselves and grow.
yeah, I think, well, the feedback Kyla gave me the other day, we had this session with some executive MBA students who pitched back to us our international growth strategy and gave us some really, really good critical feedback. It was amazing. And it was a lot. Like we had a lot of things, there's a lot of balls in the air. And really what it pointed down to is our positioning. Who are we for? We still leave people asking, like, is it for me? Is it for my friend? Is it for my stage? We need to solve that. And then we also need to get a lot clearer on the impact, and especially with the pink and the power and the fluffiness that people may come into Powersuit thinking. We're about tangible, measurable career progress, and how do we really connect the dots for someone who might be coming back into work after having children, or thinking about a step up, or not sure what to do next, or in a difficult dynamic. What is the transformation that we know we can make? So all of that stuff sounds straightforward, but it's actually a lot of work. And Kyla said to me, isn't that fabulous? You know what you do works. Your members love you. They're out there advocating for you. They're the unpaid sales force. All you need to do now is figure out how to tell that story. And I just thought that was such a nice way to put it. The other thing that I noticed though this morning, and it's something we don't really talk about much. So we do mini masterclasses, interviews, peer coaching, live events every week. Amazing. Everything on demand. But we also actually have a private community. And there's something that has almost hit critical mass in the last couple of weeks. And I jumped on last night and there were some pretty big questions being asked in the community. Like, when do I know it's time to leave? I've had a really tough performance review that doesn't reflect the feedback I've been getting. And there are probably 5 or 10 different voices jumping in with really impactful, thoughtful, supportive, helpful comments on each one of those posts. And even pointing to different networks they have or different people they can connect them with. And so I think what Powersuit's Powrsuiters are saying about us in public is one thing, but in private, there is so much value being added and a culture growing of let's support each other actively, let's connect each other actively, and let's share our perspectives in a way that helps each other move forward. And that's when the magic starts because it's no longer us, it's this movement of people who agree with our philosophy, who are taking control of how we build this network too. So I just wanted to highlight that because I don't think we really talk about that side of
Mm.
Powersuit very much.
Yeah. Okay. What are some strange pickles we've found ourselves in? I am going to start with 2 nights ago. We found ourselves driving home from a relatively regional small city, urban hub in New Zealand. And it was foggy and it was dark, and there are no there's not great lighting on the highways of New Zealand. They're like rural roads for most countries. And so that was like we're driving home at 8, 9 o'clock at night, pitch black, in this fog, in this rain, because we delivered an event in kind of a very small regional hub, that is like an interesting thing at this stage of Powrsuit in our business of like, we are doing hustle, like we are getting in the car and driving 4 hours to build awareness. And not to say that we're going to continue to do that going forward, but that it was an interesting pickle. We were like, let me just get us home safely.
I would like to add here shout out to the Air New Zealand. What do we air hostess
Ah,
steward?
Stuart,
What
yes,
steward?
yes.
Who got us out of a pickle yesterday? We had a 7 p.m. flight home and got to the airport at 2:30 and planned to work from there. And she saw us and went, "When are you going home?" We went in a very long time, and without us asking, she moved our flight up. And I just stuff like that is so when you're on a bootstrapping budget, changing those flights would have cost us like $500. We were in a pickle and someone helped us. And I just huge kudos to Air New Zealand there and that particular person. It just
Well,
really made our day.
she's clearly a power suitor. We should have sold her a
I
membership.
know we should have. I was actually like, we should give her a freebie. The
Okay.
other pickle that I've noticed recently, and this is a challenge we've been given, uh, especially from sort of loose partners, almost people we align with, want to do more business with, want to collaborate with. And one of the interesting things about starting a network for women and helping women succeed is there is almost an underlying expectation that we work really flexible hours and we are available during work hours only and we can fit around everyone's situation. And that really challenged me because I was like, yes, that is the world we want to see. And but we're not available during those hours. Like we have such a chaotic schedule that we can do sort of more loose, fun stuff after work. Like that is kind of the reality we operate in. And I got to the conclusion this morning that we work incredibly hard at Powersuit to make other people's lives easier. And I have to get more comfortable with that we are not a part-time business. We are not a flexible business, the two of us at the moment. We are all no holds barred, pedal to the metal, working our butts off to build this thing. And we should be really proud of that rather
Mm,
than it kind of struck a bit of a self-doubt in me of like, maybe we should operate how we want our members to operate or be allowed to operate. And it's just not,
yeah.
you can't build that by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean there? Because that
Totally.
feels like,
Yeah.
yeah, that I'm still working through it.
Yeah, well, you chat to any small business owner, and an event we were at yesterday, she was up at 3 a.m. baking the food for the event. I mean, it is like
Yeah. And
it's
that
a
doesn't mean we want, like, because you want to model the behavior you want to see. But in a business like this is the behavior you need to see in order to
yeah,
survive. We're a tiny, tiny fish in a giant
yes,
ocean. So,
yes.
yeah. So that was the other pickle, self-related pickle.
Yeah, great. Is there anything that sticks out when I go, are you avoiding anything, Nat, or deprioritizing anything? And I'll start just to give you a minute to reflect. And it actually is cold calling. It is part of a sales process that I'm happy to do cold email or LinkedIn outreach. But when it comes to phoning people, I act like a Gen Z. Like, I'm like, I don't want to get on a phone and actually talk to humans. I think it's obviously rejection. That's something that anything that comes with constant rejection, I deprioritize. So that's just something little that I've found myself nervous of, which we'll tackle.
I'm in exactly the same boat. But there's also a barrier there of not really knowing how to do it. How do you get phone numbers? How do you make sure that they're happy for you to call? All of that stuff is like not fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answers and I don't know how to find out the answers, which is where I procrastinate, is where it's like there is no clear path. I think the second one for me is we need to hire someone. We need someone in beside us alongside the business. And I think we've had a fabulous couple of weeks of really thinking through what that role needs to look like, shaping up the recruitment process. And that's probably what tied to this whole like how we work versus what we want other people to be able to work like. But I know that there will be a point where we have to commit a year's salary and all the disruption that comes, because it is very real disruption that comes from getting a new person up to speed, and that is going to grind us to a halt. So there will be a point in the future where we need to just push go on that, and it's going to have to come in the very near future, and I'm already feeling nervous about it.
Yeah. So any tips if people are listening and go, this worked, this didn't work, here's some tips for you. We'd love to hear those. What is something small we need to do differently? So just a bit of a, oops, yep, maybe have a look at doing something differently. There's some big things you mentioned, another human in Powrsuit, but for me, it's this Power Up podcast, which I'm excited about. Something really small that we need to do differently is we are going to outsource the editing. We have found someone to do that for us, so it is very much a test period. This is a double barrel question because the one after this question is what's one small thing is what can power suiters expect? Like what might be different? And I would just say the smallest thing is my hope is twofold. One, the audio is going to be better. Oh my gosh, we actually have someone who knows what they're doing. That's going to do some editing and it hopefully will be better. Secondly, there'll be maybe some video as part of that. We're going to try Nat has been absolutely experimenting with video, putting it up on socials, but this might be like uber ultra amazing video and maybe it'll be easier and save us time and give us little snippets. And so those are a few small things. I don't know, hopefully greatness.
Also, it takes a couple of hours off your plate, which I
Yeah.
think is a really, really nice thing. This is a piece of feedback we got a while ago, and I think it is absolutely time to enact it. And that is, we do very good weekly planning, and that worked really well for us for the first year. And we know what's on our plates and then what we need to do over the week. What's happened in the last couple of weeks, though, is that, well, last couple of months, is that weekly planning has become very much out of touch with what we're actually doing. We have all these projects underway. We're building progress tracking. So our members every 6 months can reflect on their goals, actions, see how far they've come. Amazing. We're looking at our messaging now and how we can really hone in on who we're for and the transformation you can expect. We're heading to Sydney and Singapore. We're looking at website updates. We've got all of these things. And at the moment, we're doing all of them, but they're not reflected in our planning. So what we've decided to do is do one step higher planning, which is projects. So everything becomes a project. Sales becomes a project. Talking to our partners becomes a project. All of these things that we're doing that are not reflected in our sort of to-do lists are now going to be seen as projects. And we're just going to pick a couple of them and focus on them and prioritize at that slightly higher level. And in my opinion, that's going to really lower the mental load on us because we're not going to have all these little bits and pieces we're working on. We're going to have just this is what we're doing now. All the rest of them are documented. We can get to them soon. We're going to have a much tighter prioritization process, which is the same thing, but just at a slightly higher level to go, what is the thing that will move the needle the most? And that might actually only take us another 15 minutes or 30 minutes a month. But it is the missing link at the moment that I think is leading to this sense of chaos
Yeah.
that we very quickly
Yes.
delved into this year.
And then you've got one thing to share about what parasuiters might expect as it relates to our newsletter based on some of this thinking.
Yeah, so when we talk about all the stuff we have on our plates, we are being honest. Like we design, build, update our website. We write, edit, post our newsletter. We record, edit, post our podcast. We organize every expert to come in and speak to our members. We do every sales call. We turn up at every event. That is all two people. There is no secret contractor, consultant. We have an accountant. Our accountant is the only other person in this business, and they don't do our day-to-day accounts. We do. So every single thing you see from Powersuit is Kristen or I, which is why we can't do school hours. But part of this prioritization and change in how we behave is recognizing that some of the things, like our newsletter, it was the first ever Powrsuit thing. It was our first way of interacting with fabulous women and asking, do you see what we see? Do you care about the same stuff as us? Do you see a problem you want to solve? And do you agree with our philosophy? It was so powerful. But the reality is, it takes a day out of my week every week to write it, edit it, load it, find these amazing articles and podcasts and books to share. Like one of the questions, and we have to be ruthless here, that we asked ourselves is, does it make sense to spend a day a week on the newsletter? Or if we were to spend a day a fortnight on the newsletter, would that have a meaningful difference in how much value we offer to people and the amount of awareness and growth we get out of the newsletter? So we thought we would start an experiment for the next couple of weeks. We're going to switch to fortnightly for a while. So it's not a huge, like in your life, it'll be one less email in your inbox. Fine for now.
Yep. Last question. What small action have you taken that is bearing fruit in your personal life? I chatted a lot last year about health and like wanting to eat healthier and my whole perimenopause and hormonal disasters. So I'm just going to say the small action for me has actually been a protein smoothie every morning because I talk a lot about, oh, I want to eat better or I feel so tired. And it's actually protein for a lot of women. So for me, I've just added a protein smoothie every morning. And it's just the first small step to making better choices, to start to exercise a little bit more, even if it's not a lot in a given day, or make wiser food choices. But that is like the first small action that's been super consistent and is now a habit. So that is mine. What about
I love it.
yours?
I've got two. One, I've had a bung shoulder for about 6 months now. Can't really lift my arm. And I am not a health anxiety person, so I just ignore it. But I've booked a physio for Friday because you shouldn't live with an arm that you can barely move. That's not great. The second one is I used to get 2-day headaches and they were heading towards 3-day headaches every month. It felt hormonal. Again, did not go to the doctor. But when I started to run when was it? The beginning of this year, end of last year, a couple of times a week, I have noticed the last few months I'm not getting those headaches anymore. And I actually spoke to someone the other day and she said that was the advice she got from her doctor. Raising your heartbeat several times a week and sweating will cut those hormonal headaches. And I've
Wow.
experienced that. So it is the biggest motivator to strap on my running shoes and go out for a jog. And I'm not fast and I don't push myself too much, but if I can, I mean, those headaches were crippling and I was again pushing through and working anyway. And I just don't want to live like that in my 40s.
Yeah.
It's not where we need to be with this business.
Nat, 40s, you mean 20s.
I mean,
Hello.
sorry.
Nice one. I can cut that. No, I'm not going to cut that.
No,
Yeah,
I
anyway.
mean, we do. People said it yesterday. They're like, whoa, are you 40?
Love that. We'll take that. Hope everyone enjoyed our town hall. Please feel free to comment, reach out, share the love. And yeah, thank
I
you
feel
for
like we need to
following.
switch to Q&A now. We're like, and now the team of
Yeah, yeah.
thousands of power suitors can ask your questions.
Yeah, exactly. Over to you. Thank you so much for listening along and sharing the love of Powersuit. Give us a rating on a 5-star rating on our pod. We really
Yeah,
appreciate
we're
it.
at, what is it? 98
Yeah,
five-star ratings on Spotify. So
let's
if you're
crack
planning to give
100.
us lower than that, please don't. Don't ruin our perfect score. But if you're planning to give us 5 stars, let's make 100. Let's make
Yeah,
150. We like to smash a target. That'd be fabulous. I don't know what
love
we've
it.
got on Apple. Do you know what our rating is on Apple?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
We're
I'm not
really good at
sure.
tracking these
Yeah.
incredibly important analytics.
Well, once in a while we see them and it's like it's not 10,000. So yeah, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. Thanks, everyone. We will catch you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.